Governor Bobber, I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Go! You're watching Dr. Politics.
They're Dr. Politics. He's the one to see. Breaking down the news with sharp analysis. From Congress halls to campaign trails, he tells the truth when all else fails. They're Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. Exposing the spin, the lies and tricks. Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. He calls it straight, no politics as usual. Love from backroom deals to primetime fights. He sheds some light and sets things right. Debates, elections, policy. He cuts through all the DC sleaze. Oh, Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics, go away. Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics,
Hey, and that's our new opening.
And that's an AI song.
Yes, it is. I actually fooled around with some lyrics and put it in and yeah, so I came up with that. I'm still working on it, but hey, it's not bad for a good run. So, Dave, you saw that you're in there with Governor Ehrlich and with Governor McDonald.
I didn't see it, but I'm sure I did. I was stepped away. I'll find it next time.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm still tweaking it. So there's a couple of areas where I think it slows down, as in the picture swapping. So
That's good.
working on that, and I probably like that. I found that video. I go, oh, I gotta use this about the one from your birthday, Don. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't realize I forgot we had a video of that.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to bust open that thing because I was like, what the heck is this thing?
Yeah. And the good thing is there was no wasted food after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, we know why.
Well, it's been a cold week. So much for that global warming nonsense they all spew. Remember last
I'm sure. I mean, the temperatures have been. I mean, they've been cold, but it gets worse because we've had with the wind.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
This morning, by the way, not to go off on a tangent, but I'm going to go off on a tangent. This morning I went to Costco's. I go to Costco's once or twice every other month, right? And why are there so many people at Costco? What are they doing there? Really? I guarantee those people are there every day. It's like, why are you there? You know, honest to God. The Costco's needs to bring back their senior hours where folks like us can go in at 8 o'clock, do our shopping, get out. You know, for all the people that are over 65, for people that can pass over 65.
The cheaters like you.
Hey, I've got gray hair. I've got gray hair, and I could be like all those posers on the Southwest flight who walk around with a limp until they get on the jet bridge. They're just sprinting down there to get a seat up front in the plane.
Yeah.
Which
well,
is,
that even that's going to change sometime
yeah,
this year. I think.
I hope so. I hope so. Because I mean, what is this? You know, it's like I pay extra to be 8 to 20 boarding to do all that. You know, can you guys hear me? Something weird just happened.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
look, okay. So I know you're Shamrock Shake, Spiro Agnew, Costco senior hours. Some of your most passionate things. I think about the senior hours every once in a while in the comments, you used to make, when they were in effect and then when they went away. But I noticed, at the Gaithersburg Costco, which is a generally overcrowded, store, just, always, that when I have actually hit that store kind of in the middle of the day, that's kind of a lull period for them. I mean, they still are doing really brisk business,
Yeah.
but it's not like it is at 10 a.m.
Why are people going? I mean, I went there at 10. I used, and there's lines out the door. Like you think it's, and I figured today being as cold as it is, people aren't going to be waiting outside. Oh, I was wrong.
Well, there's so many different factors. I think, I think one factor right now are just, eggs, right? You know that if you go to Costco, if they have eggs, they're going to be cheaper probably than the competition. So that has people coming, in droves. If there is a prediction of bad weather here, what happens to everywhere in this area as soon as they predict even an inch of snow. Every store winds up getting it. It becomes milk, bread, eggs, water. There's just a huge run on that stuff. I mean, there is a difference too. I mean, the store obviously is fully stocked for whatever they have at 10 a.m. When I get there, when I've been there at 1 o'clock, if you go in the back and you're looking at the water, it has been vastly eroded. Often, there are probably not going to be. There's probably not going to be as much milk or as much in the egg section as there was before. So there's just this thing. But yeah, there's a mentality to Costco shoppers that we've got to hit it at 10 o'clock or 9:30 on a Saturday so that we can make sure we get what we want. The most, I mean, if you're just going there for the sale items, those sale items are usually just fine. They're not going to run out, at 10 o'clock. But there is a mentality with Costco shoppers. So.
And what really infuriated me today is there's people, they don't know which line they're in. They don't know how to use this damn self-checkout. If you don't know, just go, like, Costco need to do a better job.
I think Costco also, though, they did what a lot of other stores are doing. I mean, Costco now they basically have how many ever checkout lanes you have. There's usually one assigned Costco employee per lane.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, they have to do it in this day and age of people. And I tell you, it's
to prevent theft. Matter of fact, we used that on, I think it was on Monday, and so the employee actually went through and scanned everything, and we got to the door, and she had actually not scanned one of our water, which was caught at the door. It's like, if the employee is scanning, you think that they got everything, which then delays you getting out, because then you got to wait in another line by the door so they can charge you for that as well.
You know what they should do, honestly, is they should you go to a Giant, they have the guns you can buy as you zap while you're buying. They should do that, and all you do is you put it back in the cradle. It knows what you bought, and you pay. So you don't have to take stuff out of the cart to get it scanned and putting it back in the cart. It's basically comes down to that. That's my opinion. That whole thing is why. And
well, for me, my Costco experience was actually with Leadership Institute, because we had an account, and when we have events at Leadership Institute, we would go to Costco. So I would go on occasional.
Where is the Costco? Is it the one in Alexandria, the one by Pentagon City?
There was one. I guess it's still there.
It's still there, but that's kind of far.
Well, with LI, we were in Arlington, and there was one nearby. Well, anyway, I would be part of the purchase of we'd buy stuff. But I haven't been to Costco for years. The ex had a Costco card, so we would go. But I myself, and I'm not buying for anyone other than myself, so I don't really need a Costco. The one thing I missed about Costco was the pizza, and they used to have a chicken bake deal at the snack
You
bar.
can still get those without a Costco's card, I think.
Okay,
no, you're not supposed to be able to go in without that.
Yeah, I think
really?
You can't. I mean, you can't get into a Costco, without a membership card to begin with, right?
Yeah.
You have to
Right.
go through that. The one over in Wheaton,
They got the food outside.
for whatever reason, the food court is outside the Costco itself. So
Okay.
I think they actually found a way to try to clamp down on that, because when it was out there, everybody was using it.
Yeah,
And
all the kids from school.
and
they
it's
come
and
there.
it is a membership privilege, in the sense that, if you're not paying the membership, why should you be able to buy the $1.50 hot dog deal, for which they lose money on, in order to attract you into the store. Right.
And that's very true. Why? And I think, Costco's, I mean, I like it a lot better than Walmart. Okay. But I have noticed Walmart does not have the crowds even in the middle of the day. Like Costco's is like always, it's like Grand Central Station there. And I really think if Costco's got rid of samples, and you know how in the 70s you could only get gas if you had an odd number license plate or an even number license plate?
Oh yeah.
Costco should consider doing that for their stores. If your card is an odd number, you go on an odd day. If it's an even number, you go on an even day.
With all the members they have, that's never going to work.
They could call it the Carter. They could call it the Carter program, and they could use it as an opportunity to talk about how great Jimmy Carter was.
Yeah,
they're still all about DEI at Costco, so why not?
Yeah, I know. Why not?
I like that. Reminds me of when the baseball teams do the annual promotion where they set the clock back, so the prices go back to like 1979, and the uniforms are back to 79, and
yeah,
that was nice.
By the way, I gotta share something with you. Let me find it. But this AI, as I mentioned last week, this whole AI thing is an excellent thing. There's a lot of fun you can have with it, And here's a little bit. Hold on a second. There you go. But I mean, you mentioning baseball is what brought this to. Okay, here we go.
I have a feeling we're going to watch a lot of Dwight's videos. It's good.
This is like a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how they do. They didn't really make a lot of moves this off season, so they didn't really. I think
they're positioned well with money.
I think they took some steps back because they didn't really sign anybody big. Even that's what that was the expectation of the new owner, was that he's got a bundle of money, but they really didn't spend much of anything, and they let one of their biggest sluggers go. They signed another guy who's injured a lot, so they may regress a little bit still. It's not probably where they want to be, but maybe the owner needs another year to figure this out.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not going to be in the last place like the Nats.
No, they won't be in last place, but
500 is the dream.
The Red Sox have improved. The Yankees may, losing Soto may drop down a notch. But
one thing about the Orioles, they do have in the pinch, they do have luck, and that speaks a lot. So.
Well, I grew up with pre-Nats, and so I grew up as like you guys. I grew up as an American League fan, and there's nothing quite like the American League East in baseball with the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Orioles. Occasionally,
the only thing I didn't like about the AL was the DH rule, frankly.
Yeah, me too. I agree. I think the pitcher should hit. I'm not a fan of the DH, and now it's in the National League now, right?
Right. They've had it for National League for a while. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, David, on this. It's just that even though the odds were that the pitchers were going to be close to an automatic out, You have a few pitchers that were actually pretty good hitters, and they took pride in their hitting, and that added an interesting element to the game, because it's like, sometimes, they would surprise you. They might hit a home run, they might get a single, they might, there's some things would happen that could change the game. The DH is, it's not as much of a strategy thing anymore. And, and then if you start electing, DHs to the Hall of Fame, which is going to happen. I mean,
which is heresy.
It's like, exactly. So you're rewarding basically a one-dimensional player, someone who basically didn't play the field. The Baseball Hall of Fame is for someone who's an all-around player, that either pitched, and fielded or fielded, things like that. But a DH, they just get up there and their only job is to hit. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like that. And then some of the other, I don't mind the pitch clock. I think that's fine. It keeps the game moving, and so I'm all right with that.
But I don't think baseball is baseball. I don't really like the hurry up, let's get this game over with. If you want to let go fast, go watch a basketball game or a football game where it's clocked at 60 minutes, and that's all the time this whole baseball's a leisurely sport. It's like you go to watch it, and it's a fun day to go watch a game at Camden Yards or at Nats Park. What is the name of the stadium? Is it Nats Park, or is it called something else?
No, it's National Stadium. Yeah, it's National Park.
Yeah.
But I mean, you make me think, though. I mean, there are set quarters, in times, right, for pro basketball and pro football. But in reality, from the time kickoff starts to the time the game ends, 3 hours has elapsed, right?
Yeah.
There, even before the pitch clock, there are a lot of baseball games that were less than 3 hours.
Yep.
Or close to that. So it's like, you're complaining about the pace of play or a game that lasted basically as long as a football game or a basketball game. What was the problem? But it's a perception issue that the game was too slow. People want things, in a hurry. The Koreans they use a phrase called bali bali for kind of like hurry up, go faster, right? And that's kind of what it is that baseball decided that they wanted that game to be faster. It didn't really hurt the game. I mean, I think it probably made it a little more efficient. I don't have a problem with that. It's just that, just beware and of tinkering with it too much. That's what you have to watch. I think all sports have got to watch out for that. What baseball still stands out among the major sports as having the best all-star game of all of them. The all-star, NBA's all-star game is a complete mess. And then
NFL's Pro Bowl needs to be just 86.
And then the Pro Bowl actually used to be halfway decent, and that's turned into a complete mess. So the players have become such prima donnas in the NBA and the NFL that it's just changed the whole nature of things in terms of how they play or what they'll do. And it's just, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Michael Wilbon, who used to write for the Washington Post and now has a show on ESPN, he said he was told by a former NBAer that this is the first time in 40 years he didn't go to the NBA All-Star game because it was like complete trash. It's just not worth it. It's so we see that. I mean, the NHL is trying to find, these other sports leagues are trying to figure out, what do we do? But I think they've gotten carried away with, they wanted a tinker because they thought the fans needed this experience, and if they had just let it alone and just done it the old way, I think they would have been far better. Because baseball, they really haven't tinkered with the All-Star game. The only thing I don't like about the All-Star game is, is kind of, this is where MLB has their DEI program fully in place, because every team must have a representative, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the way it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, You vote for the All-Stars,
Yeah.
and it just played out however it came. If you didn't have a good enough player on the team and they didn't get on the team, okay, that's fine. But now there has to be at least one player from every team, which means that a lesser player can get onto the All-Star team, and a better some other player normally would have been there sits home.
Well, for me, the All-Star game was always one of the highlights of my childhood, and I'd watch the All-Star game. And the thing that made it cool, a couple things. One is the American League, there was no interleague play. So the American League didn't play the National League, so it was kind of cool. This is the first time they play each other. Same thing with the World Series. The other thing I remember what I love about the All-Star game is how we could vote. You vote for the players. And do you guys remember the Gillette ballots that you could get? Yeah. And you poke in your – I thought it was so cool. I remember that as a kid.
But then they had a problem with dimple chads, David.
Was that not very old school, those ballots? And we'd be at the games and we do that. Now you can vote for the All-Star game, but you have to do it online. And I think you get 10 votes a day or something like that.
Okay, wow.
It's like, something, I am not going back to that site every day and casting 10 votes.
I know people that do that though, which is there's something wrong with you if you go there 10 times a day just to do
I would bet, right? That there are probably plenty of people out there that have programmed everything to go in and every day cast 10 votes for them for this player. And then just it's not even they've just set it on some kind of a routine, and they don't physically do it themselves. They have just set it so that it will actually do that. And I don't even remember if there was a CAPTCHA on that when you vote or not. Maybe there is, but you can defeat the CAPTCHAs too. So,
well, I'm thinking on eBay you can buy old ballots just to remind me of my childhood. I was almost thinking of buying one of those old sample ballots.
You can buy a ballot on. Well, I guess you can buy anything just about.
On eBay,
Huh?
I say you buy pretty much anything on eBay.
I know.
Somebody was selling a rubber band ball. Do you know what those are, David? Back in the days, you could go to a post office, right? Go in the parking lot. You'd find millions of rubber bands. One summer, my buddy Mitchell and I, we got like 10 like brown lunch bags of rubber bands over like about 2-3 weeks, I guess. And we created a rubber band ball that was about this big. It was heavy.
Yeah.
It was heavy. It's not like, it was very heavy, but it's just kind of something to do one summer, when you're 7 years old, there's not much else to do.
Well, it's like the other things about our childhood that, we're old enough to remember at school having cap guns and little toy guns.
Yeah.
But, I saw something, I thought they were all gone, but I saw something rather refreshing the other day. I saw these neighborhood kids playing like cops and robbers. He had some sort of like toy gun.
Sure they weren't playing social.
I didn't know you could do that anymore. I thought all those were gone. Like toy. It looked like that. Like toy.
I would have thought that was been a long ban.
Yeah, I would have thought so too. But these kids were playing, and they had some little, maybe it's like a water gun or something, not filled with water, but no.
Yeah.
Cap guns were kind of fun.
Yeah, I like my cap guns. And
those are worth a mint. If you have one still, they're worth a mint because they don't make them. And ones you usually find are plastic opposed to metallic ones, the silver metal ones. Yeah.
But when I was a kid, my friend, I remember Starsky and Hutch, the old Starsky and Hutch show.
Yeah.
Well, he had blonde hair. I had curly brown hair much curlier at the time. And I was Starsky and he was Hutch. Well,
he was Huggy Bear.
My mother bought no, there's no Huggy Bear, but my mother bought a set, and they were like the little miniature versions of the guns that Hutch had and Starsky. Because remember, Starsky's Hutch's gun was a longer barrel, I remember, and Starsky's was smaller. But we had those little guns, and I remember bringing them to school at Lemon Road Elementary in McLean. We had our little guns, so that was
that's not going to happen today.
And we used to play war too, and I don't think kids are allowed to play war anymore either.
They got rid of dodgeball, the great game of dodgeball.
Dodgeball was a great game.
That was wonderful. That was fun as can be.
I don't know if you guys ever watched Tim Allen's other series, Last Man Standing. He started a secret dodgeball club. And his grandson's always getting like a bloody nose.
Thanks to you, I went ahead and watched his new show. And it's like, yes, it's I love how they're able to go ahead and then slip in all these little political things in there. The keys are under the Reagan gnome and things like that. It's like, okay, yeah, I love it. There's some good.
I wonder how long before ABC decided to give it the axe like they did Last Man Standing. If you recall, they canned Last Man Standing because of politics, pretty much.
Yeah, but I think we see that there's a shift in politics. I mean, things that we're normally talking about on the show, besides our childhood, memories. There is that huge shift, and I think it does. I mean, for ABC, they're like, yeah, Tim Allen and his kind of humor and those kind of things, his politics are in vogue. So you put that out there, and maybe you will offend some of your audience, but there's a lot of people out there who like this stuff. I mean, I told my wife, I said, you need to watch this show just to catch up on some of the little things that they throw in there as reminders that yes, sometimes conservatives can get a voice on television, like that. So it was encouraging to see that.
Yeah, I hear the people that did the Roseanne Barr show, they're trying to bring her back.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, how you killed her off? How do you bring her back?
Yeah.
You're gonna make her a ghost? She's gonna be like, what was that Ann Jillian series where she was a ghost that lived in a house? Jennifer Slept Here. That's what it was. And they're gonna do something like that where Roseanne Barr is a ghost or something. But
well, maybe we ought to talk about some news for the rest of the show.
That is true. We've got almost 30 minutes. But that talked about.
I thought we just saved that for the final thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just the final thought.
But I tell you, we have had. I mean, Kash Patel got confirmed today.
That's good. Yeah.
We had some fake news last week where they said he was confirmed Friday, but.
Well, that I wonder if that was a committee vote.
That was probably a committee vote. Yeah.
I guess so. Well, he got delayed for some reason. Remember, the Democrats used some procedure or something. They delayed his vote.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was, but they delayed it. But Dwight, you must be excited because in a way, this kind of breaks the ceiling for you now. A Patel could now get elected to. Could get appointed to cabinet.
I mean, there've been other Indians in the cabinet. President. I know. I look for excellence. I don't care what. Maybe that's why I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're white, brown, black, gray, because they do have space aliens that are grays, green, whatever. As long as you're qualified for the job, frankly.
Well, Dwight,
Kamala, look at Kamala. She was not qualified to be VP. She was a DEI pick.
Yeah.
Then again, Joe wasn't qualified to be president.
No.
He was our first demented president.
That's right. He was just there forever. The thing is, speaking of the news, what's amazing, I think, is all the stuff that's coming out that there's so much action. And you didn't have that with Biden. One, because, he's part-time. Two, the media tried to downplay everything. Now everything's a crisis. So much is going on, and they've got so many things to talk about. It's very different.
As David Keene said on our sister show Wednesday, looks like President Trump read the Rules for Radicals book, and he's just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at them every single day. They don't have time to react.
Yeah. If you guys get a chance to check this out, I don't know if you've seen this, but there was the governors came to the White House today, and Trump, just beautiful. He singled out Maine's governor, who's apparently going to resist the DEI, this transgendered and sports stuff. And Trump just chastised her. It's beautiful. I mean, you got to check that out.
I don't know why.
Didn't he tell her to see you in court?
Yeah. He said, "I'll see you in court, and I'm gonna have a good time." Because that'll be an easy one.
Why did he put Westmore on the Council of Governments? You didn't need to do that.
Oh, I didn't.
I know you put a Democrat, but you didn't need to put Wes Moore as the Democrat on the Council of Government, and because there's other Democrat governors that are not as bad as Wes Moore, frankly. But it is what it is, I suppose.
Like a Shapiro or Bashir.
Shapiro's already on there, right? Yeah.
Or even Paulus of Colorado occasionally says sensible things. Gerald Paulus of Colorado.
Because you're putting in Wes Moore, who's going to basically use this as a platform because he's looking to run for president in 2028, and it's like, no, don't give him a stage to do it on.
Yeah.
He's too busy taxing my. They want to do a 7 cents tax on this. My Shamrock shakes. They're going to charge 75 cents for my pizza deliveries. So it's insane.
Yeah, they're going to turn Maryland into California tax-wise.
We already are California. Some say California is Maryland West.
Okay,
and I've said we've been like this or going that direction since Martin O'Malley, and Hogan slowed that train down.
Yeah.
Once we switch back to the Democrats, it's picking up steam again. It's just the Democrats are just they keep looking to California and saying, okay, we want that here. It's like, but I think by and large Maryland voters really don't want that here. I mean, and we've already seen, I think we mentioned before, like part of Wes Moore's big budget package is more taxes on the wealthy. The last time they did that, they passed that, the tax revenues went down. People left.
And that's going to happen now too, And this is just insane. What they're doing is they are everything. If it moves, they're taxing it. I mean, they've gone. Basically, they're like drunken mad is what the Wes Moore and the Democrats are in Maryland these days, frankly.
Well, yeah, I mean, remember, at this point in time, I mean, it is a proposal by Wes Moore. How much of this actually gets passed by the legislature, I don't really know, because I think he will run into some roadblocks because this is such a massive package of tax increases overall that I think even some of the Democrats are going to, might want to slow that roll about, we can't do this and we can't do that, but it's like a lot of things, right? You propose a budget or a plan, and you hope to get most of it through. You'd expect that there'll be some things that won't get through, and then you move on from there. But Maryland, every time the Democrats get in control, it's all really about the taxes and the spending. They won't cut the spending. They love to tax so they can spend more money instead of looking at places they can cut and save us money.
Yeah, I agree. And I think within the Democrat Party as well in Maryland, you don't really have the moderate voices like a Doug Duncan or someone else. I don't know if there's
Mike Miller. It's sad to say Mike Miller and Doug Duncan.
Yes.
And people like Sid Kramer and Ike Leggett are considered moderates now by the new radicals that are in. I mean, the speaker is very radical. It's not, Mike Bush and Mike Miller. As we used to like say, they were Democrats, but they were Maryland. They wore an M on their chest, not a D. And now all the Democrats all wear a D on their shirt. It's about party, Wes Moore is all about D's, Democrat. He wears a D on his shirt. It's not about M for Maryland, Bob Ehrlich, Larry Hogan, William Donald Schaefer, Harry Hughes, Governor Marvin Mandel. They all wore M's on their chest. They were about Maryland, making life better in Maryland. These guys are all about politics, and they want to make life even more horrendous for people who live in Maryland. And what's going to happen in Maryland is we're going to have all the people that can afford to move or to move away. They're going to go to Florida. They're going to go to Tennessee. They're going to go where you're not taxed, right? And then you're going to have the working poor who are going to be stuck here because they can't afford to move because they're so taxed,
Well, I also wonder and this I think could be major changes, the biggest in our lifetimes in terms of the DMV, and that is if Trump can get through the type of cuts that I hope he gets through. What's going to happen to this area, Northern Virginia, especially, and Maryland, in terms of all the federal workers, if you reduce federal employment by 5%, 10%, that would make a big difference, I think.
Yeah, but I don't. Honestly, it's going to take a while for that to set in. I wish it could happen by a snap of a finger, but it can't, sadly.
Yeah,
it's going to take a little bit of time. However, though, we can't. There is, also, by the way, I forget the name of the congresswoman from Texas who seems to think $5,000 is not going to change anyone's life. I'm sorry, $5,000 is a substantial amount of money, frankly.
Yeah, it is.
It will. I
Yeah.
mean, you can take $5,000 invested in the market. You can take that $5,000, put it in an annuity. Take that $5,000, put it in a CD. Save that money. It's not like we're not printing money. This is money that we found. I like the idea. That's one thing I like, that Doge wants to give me $5,000 back. They should give me more back, but I'll take the 5,000, frankly.
See, and my opinion is that, look, whatever money that they're saving, whatever that real number is that just keep it, because
I agree.
We have over $30 trillion.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
The last thing we need to be doing is doling out more money to people.
Yeah, I agree. That got us in trouble.
Right. I think that's what you're about to say. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what got us in trouble in the first place, by the doling out all that money.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not in a pandemic when we don't need to do that, but while our national debt continues to climb, and while our nearly $7 trillion budget needs to be reined in.
Yeah, it's interesting. My view, I'm a good solid conservative, but for me it's more about spending and regulatory cuts. I don't think it's so much about taxes, because and tax cuts are fine, but I would trade the tax cut instead if you just focus on cutting government spending, cutting government regulations. For me, and cutting the deficit, which would cut the deficit. I'd be most concerned about that. That'd be my favorite thing to focus on.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, I think we have to really work on downsizing government. It has grown to be way too large, and all this emphasis and talk about tax cuts. It's not going to make a lot of difference in the lives of most Americans at this point. But having a smaller government, cutting the spending, that'll be good for the future of our country. That'll be far better than tax cuts at this point in time. We're not in the 1980s, and things like that, where tax cuts were a big deal because taxes were high, right? Before the Reagan years, the taxes were high, but they haven't, they've been relatively reasonable, for a number of years. So cutting the taxes not going to make a huge difference. Cutting the budget so that your size of government, so you actually maybe we get a little bit closer to a break even point. If we got a budget surplus, that would be a huge miracle. But
plus we're paying. Plus there's interest on the national debt,
right?
And the interest is now getting close to surpassing defense in terms of our
especially since interest rates have risen.
Yeah.
When you have that much money out there, that's debt that you're paying interest on. That's why it's become such a huge amount of money now. At 2%, people weren't paying as much attention to it.
Yeah.
But if interest rates are at 6 and 7%, it's like if the interest cost on the debt has now tripled, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is very true. And then there was looks like I don't know how beneficial, but it looks like you had those peace talks, which I don't think. I mean, I support the president, but calling Zelensky a dictator was not helpful. It was not helpful.
Nah.
But Zelensky does need to get with the program. There needs to be a peace deal struck. You can't have this war of attrition between the Russians and the Ukrainians. And what Putin has done is he is the number one recruiter for new NATO nations. Frankly, we've got Sweden and Finland, who are both now NATO members, who never would have joined NATO years ago.
Yeah.
And if Ukraine stays out of NATO, I mean, granted, Bill Clinton did have that agreement where we would protect Ukraine with the deal of giving up their nukes, but
yeah,
I think, I think they need to come to some sort of they need to make a deal, frankly. You can't just keep going on. You can't keep this going. This has been going on since the China Olympics.
Well, here, look, tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary, I believe.
Yeah.
So, here we are on the eve of that. This has gone on far longer than Putin would have imagined.
Yeah.
I give some credit to Ukraine for hanging on this long.
I do too.
And I agree. In terms of calling Zelensky a dictator, it's like, what propaganda line are you listening to here on this? Okay, and then saying that his favorability rating, whatever, was 4%.
Yeah.
And also the outrageous claim that that Ukraine started this whole thing. Okay, so this is kind of typical Trump. Things that just makes your head spin a little bit. It's like, what the heck is going on there? We know he's got good relationship with Putin in general, and at this point, I kind of understand why Zelensky is not really at the table. It's what does Zelensky have to offer? What is his position? In terms of what can he give? And at the negotiating table that Russia hasn't already captured and land. It's like, so I'm afraid that in the end, that in order to get something struck to end this war, is that Putin's going to basically wind up with the territory that they have now, and Ukraine will be a much diminished country at this point. But Trump is part of this thing is that Trump vowed to end this war. I mean, much more so than Biden. It's like Trump has a different style of diplomacy. He probably in his heart doesn't want to see Ukraine give up as much as it'll have to give up, but it will end the suffering. Russia's not going anywhere. You're right.
Right.
They just keep throwing up people. They brought in troops from North Korea. I think Victor Davis Hansen said Russia does not lose wars. I mean, they slogged it out in Afghanistan for a number of years, and then packed up and left. But but they were there forever, it seemed. So we know that they just dig in and just kind of keep going.
And I tell you, if Gorbachev did not become the general secretary, I think they would if they had more instead of a Gorbachev, they went let's say like a Gromyko or more of the old school Soviet leaders, like 90-year-old people. That I think they would have just kept going over in Afghanistan. Frankly, they would have kept going and going.
And Putin is he's never accept anything that would look like defeat. But he would probably accept saying, okay, we grabbed some territory, we can live with that, until the next Democrat's elected, and if I'm still around, I'll go back and get some more.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, probably. Well, and I think the reality is no matter how Putin can spin it, maybe he'll try to spin it as some sort of win, but people aren't going to believe that. They cost a lot of money, a lot of lives, and maybe they get a little bit more territory. But it just seems to me that that's not, people aren't going to find that justifiable, that you spent so much for so little. So,
right. And I think this is also why, I think Trump understands too that, and he watched that over the last few years, that sentiment in Congress started to shift, right? I mean, towards maybe being more all in for Ukraine, supporting them, to having questions about how much money are we going to pour into this thing, where Ukraine was having a hard time holding the line.
Yeah.
And Ukraine, Ukraine has done a magnificent job of holding as much territory as they have without any NATO troops. They've done it all on their own. They're getting money, they're getting materiel, but they're not getting troops on the ground, fighting troops, combat troops to offset the number of troops that the Russians have. So, I think Zelensky in that sense has done an unbelievable job, but they don't have the resources to be able to carry this on forever. Russia can just keep doing this. They can just make them until they take over the whole thing, in essence, if they really wanted to. But
Yeah.
I think Putin understands that Trump wants to end this. I think Putin has some desire to end this. So I think we will see something done about that. And then Trump can call the win, even if not everybody's on board with how it'll turn out.
I think that's right. And I think the other thing I would add, that I think this is sort of a diplomacy strategy on Trump's part to say these things about Zelensky or about Putin.
Yeah.
I think he's just trying to buddy up with Putin because he feels, hey, that's my strategy to get him to make a deal. I think that's what it is. But
also, every time he says something nice about Putin, a little bit of a Democrat member of Congress dies on the inside every time.
Yeah.
He sees him. And I'll tell you also, in addition to that, we're also seeing, MSNBC's in trouble, as is ABC News and CNN for that matter. CNN just got kicked out of the Pentagon. The Pentagon also got kicked out of us today.
Who was that?
CNN.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that was an announcement that was made several weeks ago, and then the Pentagon reporter for CNN, I remember her name, she actually posted a picture of their vacated office at the Pentagon. The Pentagon is, they took out 4 news organizations and they're replacing them with 4 others, and I guess they're going to do a rotating basis is the plan.
Okay.
So that's some of these guys, other people can get a chance to have an office at the Pentagon for reporting news.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think in general that's a good idea.
Yeah, I do too. Because there are like 200 some odd news outlets. Then why should ABC or AP get a seat in perpetuity?
Right.
So,
and I mean, look at this. ABC News. They're, I think, getting backlash. I don't know if you noticed. If you guys heard, they're going to do a weekend edition of The View. But guess who's not on there? Whoopi Goldberg. I personally think Whoopi probably wants to have her weekends. That's why she doesn't want to do a weekend show. But Whoopi has become a lightning rod, frankly. I know now they're. Do you remember? I mean, Don, you and Dave, you're old enough. Remember when the left wanted to find their own EIB network, their own Rush Limbaugh. They went to Jim Hightower. They went to
Mario Cuomo, Ann Richards, Al. Remember later on, America. I don't know what they call themselves, but you had Al Franken.
Yeah, Air America.
Airhead America.
Yeah, that guy Lionel, who's an idiot on there. Because Air America used to air locally on 980.
Okay.
Which is now, which became Redskins Radio, actually. And now it's ESPN Radio, I think.
Okay.
But they used.
And what did we learn from all those experiences of Air America and all this kind of stuff like that? It was just
it's not going to work.
The liberals can't sell their message to a wide audience like that. They don't have the personalities to counter, to be Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh was very unique, but he bred, a generation of talent that were smart, they were witty, they were entertaining. Liberals are none of those.
Yeah,
they don't have those qualities. They spend they spend their time just criticizing and whining, and liberals will listen to it, but that you can't have any crossover appeal when you're just a bunch of whiners that have really no point. Rush had never said that he was going to, he was a journalist or anything like that. He knew he was an entertainer, and he made a lot of money at it, and more power to him for that, and everything. Well, matter of fact, I don't know if you saw this. I saw a picture. I had never seen this before. but I saw a picture the other day on social media of his tombstone.
Mm.
You know, pretty impressive, actually. I
Mhm.
mean, it's this huge thing and all that, you know, in Missouri. So it's like, you know, it's like I may have to add that to my bucket list as a little tour. Maybe, maybe the next time I go see my daughter, maybe I can take the car and figure out how long it takes to go to Cape Girardeau from where she is, and say, I must go to, you know, if I visited Reagan's, you know, grave and everything over at the Reagan Library, I need to visit Rush Limbaugh. I mean, there ought to be pilgrimages to Rush Limbaugh.
Have you gone to Yorba Linda yet?
No.
The boyhood home of Richard Nixon.
You know, but I was at a convention that took place in Whittier, where he grew up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spent some time in Whittier, and I keep thinking it's like I should have done more to go and take advantage of things that were available for that, and I just didn't. And
I wish they'd buried Spiro Agnew in Maryland. It would be kind of.
Oh, where do they bury him?
In California, Rancho Mirage.
Oh, well, that's weird. I thought it would be in Maryland. Well,
Now, he moved to California after the VP. We weren't going to have Spiro Agnew to kick around anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, Whittier, California, you know what they're famous for? Two things, not two people. Number one, Nixon. But one of our guests in a future show, George Allen, was born in Whittier as well. So,
Yeah.
really, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because his dad was the coach of the Rams.
The LA Rams. His father was coach of the Rams.
I need to bring that up next. They're going on March 6th. I think they're the March 6th show.
Yeah,
I need to definitely bring it up with Governor Allen.
I'll bring it up if you'd like. Yeah.
Have him and Richard Nixon. You know, we'll do it off there. We're not going to do it on there.
I think he's met Nixon, the late.
Oh yeah, of course.
And he met Reagan. I know there's a picture of him and Reagan. So.
But I think he's met Reagan, Bush. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I think George Allen. I mean, that was one of the things that when he coached the Redskins in particular too, is that you know he was known for kind of being a Republican, right? And he got a lot of flack in the NFL at the time for associating with those people. But that's the one thing. It's hard for the athletes a lot of times. The conservatives to come out and express their viewpoints.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, if you remember the show, The Good Times, Jimmy Walker was a Republican, and Estelle Rose and is it John Amos or Jim Amos? I think it's John, right? John Amos.
John. I think it's John. I think
they all had serious issues with him, including the young Farrakhan, I like to call the guy that played. I think it was Michael Evans, actually. Was the actor's name Michael Evans, or was the character's name Michael Evans? But I'm thinking of Lionel from the Jeffersons. The second one was Michael Evans.
I don't know. Too many sitcoms to remember every single character for me.
I know. There's a lot out there. But no, Michael Evans was the first Lionel on the Jeffersons. But anyways, but there was always this stigma of conservatives in Hollywood. I remember Fred Grandy would talk about how there used to be like an underground in Hollywood where Republican folks would get together in secret and so on. And that was back in the days when Reagan and Bob Hope and Johnny Carson, Lucille Ball, they were all Republicans,
Yeah, I mean, you could speak out if you were established enough, and you didn't.
Yeah. But Tom Selleck,
Yeah, Tom Selleck. You weren't worried about anything anymore. It's like you had already made your money, and you weren't worried about being kind of blacklisted by the studios and whatnot. But I mean, we had when I was talking about the athletes, one of the things too is that Huntington Beach, California, which is also known as Surf City, USA. They have had a complete takeover of their town council of Republicans, and there's a lot of MAGA stuff going on there, and they even want to have a MAGA plaque on the library, but it doesn't stand for Make America Great Again. It was something else, and so there it actually happens to be apparently a former NFL kicker lives out there, and he just got arrested for disrupting the council meeting. So. Yeah, Chris Cluey. So I think that's kind of funny to see him do that, but he gets a lot of attention for that. And then think about the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The ownership has shown some very close ties to Republicans, and things like that. And then they get excoriated by the media. If it wasn't for the media, I mean, it'd be fine. But the media doesn't, they're like, oh no, 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 no. In this, you cannot associate. You can't support these people. It's not a
Back
good.
in the days, Frank Gifford was a Republican,
Yeah.
for the Giants, and then you had Lee Majors, another Republican,
well, remember you had that Redskin coach that got fired, or not disciplined because he said of January 6th, he called it a dust up. And Ron Rivera went after.
Was that a Redskins?
What, Ron Rivera?
Ron Rivera went after, disciplined the coach for saying that. So,
and then you have Linda Carter was a Republican, which is weird because she was married to that who was a big Clinton Democrat. He was not just a Democrat; he was a Clintonista Democrat. Him and Clark Clifford.
Yep.
They used to have lunch together with Larry King at Duke Zebert's.
I used to see him at the movie theater I worked at in Tyson's.
Larry King or Clark Clifford?
Carter and her husband, Altman.
Oh, really? Okay, because she's from Potomac, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
She lives in Scottsdale, Arizona now, but she's a good Republican. It's funny.
She looked good in that suit.
Yeah, it's funny is somebody mentioned. We're at final thoughts. I'll just save this for final thoughts. We're at final thoughts, everyone. So, Dave, we'll start with you. Final thoughts.
I've got another column coming out either tonight or tomorrow, so check it out. David Shepard at Substack, and otherwise doing well. Looking forward to spring.
Yeah, we all are. Don,
the what?
Looking forward to spring.
What spring?
The warmer weather of spring.
Well, I mean, let's say this is just that since the pitchers and catchers have reported, spring training is kind of gearing up. Is like we can kind of feel that maybe we're starting to get out of this weather, and we're going to see some better weather, hopefully, down the line. So I'll be helpful for that. Yes, I would definitely vote for that. One of the things I thought was funny was having Javier Milei and Elon Musk showing up at CPAC and seeing Elon with his chainsaw. And so that obviously is making the liberals' heads just explode, right?
I want him to take that chainsaw to Capitol Hill.
Well, I mean, obviously, well, I mean, but it's just, once again, the imagery of Elon with the chainsaw, because obviously that's what he's been doing, right? He's been basically taking a chainsaw and cutting right through this government fat. Now they've been less than perfect in the execution of that. I think they've gone at this a little bit, maybe too fast, without really trying to figure out who really needs to be cut versus, winding up saying, oh, wait a minute, we got to rescind that because we actually need that person.
But it is easy to bring people back, if you.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. You just get rid of a bunch of people and say, "Oh, wait a minute."
It's kind of like
you guys are gone.
Yeah, and Don, like when I was a kid, like my desk would get messy. I'd have a bunch of stuff in the drawers and stuff like that. I found the easiest way of cleaning it out: dump everything on the floor or the bed, depending where, and then just pick through it. You keep what you want and throw everything else in the trash bag. It works.
Makes sense to me. I want to give Trump kudos or praise or whatever for signing off an executive order to ban government benefits to illegals. I think that's once again Trump flexing, and showing that he's serious about trying to take care of this illegal immigration problem. If you're an illegal alien, then that's one of the things that you were counting on, is that you'd get here and then you could somehow get government benefits, and then that's gone. So hopefully that also plays up to the allure of coming to America and says, well, if I might wind up getting deported to begin with, and I spend all this money to get there, and then I'm not going to find, even if I do make it in, I'm not going to get any government benefits. It's like, why, where's the financial incentive of coming to America? It's been diminished a lot by what Trump just did there. So I'm grateful that he's done that. We've seen another EV maker file for bankruptcy. Not the last, not the first, but Nikola, the truck maker. A lot of these companies came on board. They took advantage of the SPAC, financing and everything like that, going public through the SPACs. But the costs were too high. They cost them too much money to make the vehicles. They can't sell them. They lose money on every vehicle, and the cash dries up, and that's that. And then there was a poll that came up on CNN with their pollster Harry Enton, and he showed that in 2021 the electorate was +6 for the Democrats. In 2025, it's now +2 for the Republicans, and that it must have been hard for them, but they basically credited Trump for this huge swing. So and I think we saw that in this election. I mean, Trump didn't win the popular vote by much, but he reversed what had happened 4 years ago by a significant margin in that sense. So lots of good and positive things, going on in our country, despite what the mainstream media tells us. So back to you, Dwight.
Yeah, and as you were talking about EVs, Cadillac makes Lyrics and the new IQ, which is the Escalade class, as I like to call them. I like to think of all those as Starship classes. But they're not selling. The IQ is not selling. Neither is the Lyric. But you know what they can't keep on the lots? The Escalades. Basically kind of like the smaller Escalade opposed to the big Escalade, the one that's like a Chevy Suburban. Those are harder to sell, but those Escalades are flying off the lots at $100,000 a piece. They're not on the lot. They're not lasting that long. Same thing goes for the Tahoes and the Yukons as well. I think they need, and even the Chrysler Charger EV is not doing well, or the Challenger EVs are not doing that well. I think people kind of jump the gun on the EVs, and in Maryland with electrical rates what they are, is it really that much better off for you to have an EV to charge, pay those charge electric fees in Maryland with your SUV, with your EV, frankly. And another thing is, did you know, Don, you could buy a Tesla S Plaid, which is their top of the line edition. You can buy it online. Like it's not brand new, but you get one with low miles, relatively low miles, and it'll be you can get it for around $45,000. Which it basically just means that the car market, there's the depreciation for EVs. It's not worth buying an EV unless you're going to keep it for a while. Just because, while the depreciation, say, of a Cadillac Escalade is not that much, so that is the way it is, so to speak. And we are done. We will see everyone again next week. Take care and good night, everyone.
Good night.